Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Curious Cat Crime Sunday with Shelby and Olivia. This is Shelby, and today's episode is going to be on the murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart. The murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart, otherwise known as the Scream Killings, took place in Bannock County, Idaho, in the United States on September 22, 2006. She was stabbed by classmates Brian Lee Draper and Tori Michael Adamczyk. Let's get into the story. A little bit of background on the two boys. After spending most of his childhood in Utah, Brian Draper moved with his family to Pateco, Idaho. He met Tori Adamczyk, where they were both students at Pocatello High School. Both boys were interested in films and started recording on their own. The victim, Cassie Jo Stoddart, who attended the same school, she and both the killers were in grade 11. Brian, Corey, and Cassie all were friends, just so you're aware. On the night of September 22, 2006, Stoddart was house sitting at her aunt and uncle Allison and Frank's house on Whispering Cliffs Drive in northeast Bannock County. The Contreras family were out of town and had hired Stoddart to come take care of their 3 cats and 2 dogs over the weekend. Stoddart was visiting that evening by her boyfriend, Matt Beckham, who arrived at 6 p.m. Later, classmates Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk, who were both age 16 at the time, came over to the house to, quote, hang out, quote. Stoddart gave the friends a tour of the house, including the basement. The 4 teens went into the living room to watch the film Kill Bill Volume 2, but Adamczyk and Draper ended up leaving before the film ended, saying they wanted to watch a movie at the local movie theater instead. Stoddart and Beckham stayed behind. Stoddart was unaware that before the boys left, Draper had unlocked the basement door so that Adamczyk and he could return to the house undetected. Sometime after leaving the house of Whispering Cliffs, Draper and Adamczyk returned to the neighborhood, parked down the street, got out of their clothes, put on a costume consisting of dark clothes, gloves, and white painted mask. The boys quietly entered the house through the basement door while the couple was watching television in the living room. They intentionally made loud noises in an unsuccessful attempt to lure Beckham and Stoddart downstairs so they could scare them, as they put it. Next, they found the circuit breaker and turned the power off to the house, hoping the pair would come downstairs to check the breaker. While Beckham and Stoddart did not come downstairs, the boys turned back on some of the lights. Stoddart became uneasy after a temporary power outage, and Beckham noticed that one of the Contreras dogs kept staring downstairs at the basement and barking periodically and growling. Seeing that Stoddart felt scared, Beckham called his mom to ask if he could stay the night at the house to ease her mind, but she denied his request. Instead, she offered to let Stoddart come home with Beckham and stay at their house for the night, and she would bring Stoddart back to Whispering Cliffs house the next morning. However, Stoddart felt that it was her responsibility to stay at the house she was hired to do and care for the animals, and declined the offer from the Beckham's mom. This would have saved her life. Later on, at approximately 10:30, Beckham's mother picked him up, leaving Stoddart at the house alone. Beckham called Adamczyk's cell phone to see where he and Draper were, possibly to meet up with them later. Beckham said he could hear Adamczyk, who was whispering on the phone, and assumed the boys were in the movie theater. From the basement, Draper and Adamczyk heard Beckham leave. The teens turned the lights out again at the circuit breaker, waited, hoping Stoddart would come downstairs to turn the lights back on. She did not. Unlikely, I don't know about you, but at the age of 16, I didn't know that if the lights go off, you turn them back on with a circuit breaker. So it's likely, in my personal opinion, that she didn't know to go downstairs to turn the circuit breaker back on. Anyways, back to the story. Eventually, the boys went upstairs. Draper was armed with a dagger-type weapon and Adamczyk with a hunting knife. The weapons have been purchased at a pawn shop. Draper opened and slammed the closet door at the top of the stairs to scare Stoddart, who was lying on the couch in the living room. The boys then brutally attacked her, stabbing her approximately 30 times. 12 wounds were considered potentially fatal. During the investigation of the murder, Police found Draper and Adamczyk had recorded their plan to murder Stoddart in advance on videotapes while they were at school. The video footage was shown at their trials. Just in case you were wondering on how they got caught, as police began investigating the case, they interviewed Stoddart's boyfriend Matt Beckham, who, like we know, was at the house that night, who told them that Adamczyk and Draper were at Stoddart's house the same night. Police later arrested Adamczyk and Draper, who blamed each other during the interrogation, based on the fact that they said they were at a movie, could produce movie stubs, but no one inside the movie theater remembers seeing them, along with they couldn't tell them what the movie was about. Like they were giving incorrect information and conflicting stories, from what I've seen in various documentaries about this case. Draper and Adamczyk were arrested on September 22nd, so that would be 5 days after, in 2006, and were charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Now, the reason you charge them with two, at least this is in Florida, I'm sure it works the same everywhere else, is because if you don't get the first-degree murder charge, then you don't have any other charges for them to pick from, for the jury to pick from. So they will also add a few others. So in this case, they did first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. During the interrogation, each team blamed the other. Draper claimed he was in the same room with Adamczyk when Stoddart was killed, but denied stabbing her, then later admitted to stabbing her under alleged commands from Adamczyk. He had led investigators to Black Rock Canyon, where the teens had disposed of the clothing, masks, weapons they had used for the murder. Draper and Adamczyk were arrested on September 22nd, so that would be 5 days after, in 2006, and were charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Now, the reason you charge them with two, at least this is in Florida, I'm sure it works the same everywhere else, is because if you don't get the first-degree murder charge, then you don't have any other charges for them to pick from, for the jury to pick from. So they will also add a few others. So in this case, they did first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. During the interrogation, each team blamed the other. Draper claimed he was in the same room with Adamczyk when Stoddart was killed, but denied stabbing her, then later admitted to stabbing her under alleged commands from Adamczyk. He had led investigators to Black Rock Canyon, where the teens had disposed of the clothing, masks, weapons they had used for the murder. There was a civil court put through by the Stoddart family in 2010. It was a civil lawsuit against the Idaho School District, claiming that school authorities were negligent and should have known that Draper and Adamczyk posed a threat to others. Both the civil court and the Idaho Supreme Court dismissed the case, saying the actions of the killers were not foreseeable. The convicted men's attorneys filed separate appeals to the Idaho Supreme Court in September 2010 for Adamczyk and April 2011 for Draper. Draper was seeking to have his conviction vacated, or to be given a limited life sentence that would allow for his release on parole if approved after 30 years. The first appeal on both Adamczyk and Draper were denied in a 3-2 decision. The High Court vacated Draper's conviction on the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, saying the jurors were given erroneous instructions on that charge, but they affirmed his conviction of first-degree murder and life sentence without parole. In July 2015, Adamczyk gained a hearing for a post-conviction relief with State 6 District Magistrate Judge. He claimed the testimony from character witness could have changed the outcome of the sentencing, and that his former attorney, against his parents' wishes, chose not to call upon the witnesses. Adamczyk said that his attorney believed that the prosecution would have submitted even more damaging evidence. In March 2016, Judge Brown, which was the magistrate I mentioned above, his request for post-conviction relief. Adamczyk appealed Judge Brown's decision to the Idaho Supreme Court, which in December 26, 2017, rejected Adamczyk's appeal for post-conviction relief and upheld the district court's decisions. Following the Idaho State Court decision, Adamczyk filed a federal writ or of habeas corpus. Excuse me if I said that wrong. I'm not good at pronouncing things. In January 2018, in which he argued that court denied his first appeal based on a theory that he was not present, that was not presented to the jury. Let's try that again. Adamczyk also argued that he still be entitled to a new sentencing hearing in light of Miller and Montgomery decision. Federal Magistrate Candy W. Dale presided over Adamczyk's right. On November 25th, 2019, she denied the right. Adamczyk is currently appealing Judge Dale's decision to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, with oral arguments taking place February 7, 2022, with J.B. and Morgan Kristen and James Celine sitting by designation presidings. On March 24, 2022, they upheld the sentencing of the unpublished decision. Thank you so much for turning into another episode of Curious Cat Crime Sunday. If you like this video or if you like true crime, don't forget to like and subscribe. Send a comment. I do get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I answer personally myself, as we are a small channel, so you will be talking either to me or to Olivia. And if you have a specific question for one of us, I can make sure the correct person answers. Also, and I hope you guys have a great week ahead of you. This video almost didn't come out because my work schedule changed and it ended up giving me no time, so I woke up early just to do all these audios, and we'll hopefully get it done by this Sunday. I hope you have a great week, guys, and take care. Be good to yourselves.